Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Microfinance has been a transformative force in empowering Black entrepreneurs and fostering economic growth in communities that have often faced systemic barriers. Through the provision of accessible capital to individuals who might otherwise be excluded from traditional financing systems, microfinance doesn't just fund businesses, it fuels dreams, creates opportunities, and builds pathways to success. When entrepreneurs succeed, their businesses become catalysts for change, inspiring others, creating jobs, and strengthening the local economies. This ripple effect contribute to reducing wealth disparities, advancing financial inclusion, and building vibrant, self-sustaining communities. Alterna is proud to support entrepreneurs through its microfinance program, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. In a recent evaluation by Symmetrica, the program demonstrated remarkable social return of $4.37 for every dollar loaned out, offering loans that are 1.5 larger than those of our peers at lower cost of capital. What's more, over half of these loans have been granted to women, and more than 85% have been dispersed to Black or persons of color. This underscores the critical role of microfinance in reaching underserved communities. Today, we're showcasing stories that highlights these impactful initiatives. You'll hear from organizations that have partnered with Alterna Savings to invest in Black entrepreneurs through microfinance initiatives, learn about their successful approaches, and discover the journey of two inspiring entrepreneurs who turn ambition into action. This discussion is a testament of the power of collaboration, resilience, and the importance of investing in potential. So for just a few housekeeping rules, this webinar will be recorded and is being recorded at the moment. Please ensure that your microphone is muted. And finally, if you have any questions, please kindly submit your questions in the chat and we will do our best to respond. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Now let's dive in and explore how microfinance can continue to drive change and open doors for Black entrepreneurs everywhere. Our first speaker today is Tony Colley. Tony is an Alterna member and founder and CEO of Be One to Give, to share his experience as an entrepreneur starting out. Over to you, Tony.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Alterna and Jean, for that great intro. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the crowd, and I hope you guys are fulfilled once you leave this webinar. All right, next slide, please. So as Jean mentioned, my name is Tony Colley. I'm the founder and CEO of Be One to Give, an on-demand logistics platform for surplus food. Next slide. So back in 2016, I found myself on social assistance and food insecure after a 23-year career in corporate finance, fundraising, and event production. The only job I could find at the time was with a local catering company. I think you can see the chafing dishes in the background there. And on my very first event, we had, or at least I saw, an egregious amount of surplus food that was about to be discarded. Being food insecure, I took it upon myself to take some home and decided to donate the surplus to a nearby shelter. After more than 2 years of donations, I was managing an event where I couldn't capture all of the food left over and decided to purchase a food delivery bag to make the process easier on myself. And that purchase was the catalyst to able to see an opportunity to build a more circular and sustainable solution to surplus food recovery. Next slide, please. While doing my research, I learned that Canada's food supply chain produces 9 million metric tons of surplus food every single year. I should preface this statement by saying that at the time when I started my research, That value was at 3.6 million metric tons, and it has now ballooned to 9 million metric tons as of 2024. Unfortunately, 96% of this product is not being rescued or redistributed across the country. Next slide, please. So our technology provides retailers with on-demand logistics in order to capture 100% of their avoidable food waste, thereby combating surplus food and food insecurity simultaneously. Next slide, please. And we achieve this through two easy steps. So of course, our objective is to, sorry, in four easy steps, my apologies. Of course, our objective is to eliminate avoidable food waste. And we do this by suggesting or asking retailers to download the app. Secondly, once an order is placed, we will dispatch a driver to their location. Upon arrival, the driver will scan and weigh the order in order to capture that data in real time. And then finally, that food is donated to a community partner, all within a 2-hour window. Next slide, please. So recipients of our service are prominent local community partners that reside across the GTA. This allows us to not only combat food insecurity within their local systems, and that could be a shelter, a drop-in center, or a community kitchen, but the goal is to actually expand our network out into the greater community, knowing that the shelter system only does consist of, or is only able to house about 18,000 people nationally, but there are close to 8 million Canadians who are food insecure. Next slide, please. So to date, we have redistributed over 65,000 pounds of food, provided over 50,000 meals, and diverted up close to 250,000 pounds of methane gas from the atmosphere, aligning us with 4 of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Next slide, please. The benefits of our solution, of course, would to be eliminate avoidable food waste in our clients' daily operations, combat food insecurity across Canada, reduce organic waste costs in our clients' daily operations, and of course, finally, drive social impact. Next slide, please. Early adopters are tiered in 3 groups. The first would be food business operators that prepare and sell food to their clients on a daily basis. The second would be corporations that enlist third-party food business operators. So as you see there, TMU and Sheridan are our clients. Compass Group is a food service provider that provides resources to law firms, universities, corporate offices, you name it. And then lastly, our tier 3 customers would be companies that leverage what we consider tier 1 clients for corporate events. Next slide, please. So we've received recognition from a few of our clients. This one is specifically from Fairmont Royal York, clearly demonstrating the effectiveness, reliability, and scalability of our solution. Next slide, please. So currently, in-market solutions either lack comprehensive logistics, are limited by service area, and according to national research, is only able to capture 4% of surplus food across Canada. Next slide, please. Our unique value proposition is that we can guarantee same-day B2B logistics to ensure that 100% of our clients' surplus food is diverted from their daily operations. Next slide, please. We offer, as you see here, this image is and this sort of ties into Alterna Savings as well. They actually cover the financing for this capital asset. So we would leverage electric cargo bikes. We do have a net zero approach to our program. So we either use electric cargo bikes, hybrid vehicles, and we use recyclable packaging in order to redistribute product. And we offer this service to quick service retailers in the downtown core, giving us an opportunity to optimize our redistribution cycle with a net zero approach to the entire system. Next slide, please. So our business model, we have 2 packages. One is a do-it-yourself package that starts at $50 per pickup. All of our services are through a monthly subscription, so a client is able to select which type of package they want based upon the amount of food that they have. For this service, we do offer unlimited food recovery. So $50 is our cheapest program, and they go up to, and there's 3 programs for the do-it-yourself. There's a $50 for up to 100 kilos of food, $250 for up to 1,000 kilos of food, and $500 for unlimited food recovery. And all of the deliverables for every single package include unique access to our platform, same-day pickups guaranteed, packaging if required for our full-service packaging, and of course, our real-time tracking of our clients' social and environmental impact. Next slide, please. Our go-to-market strategy targets high-volume food retailers through direct outreach or warm referrals, and this approach has allowed us to secure a pilot program launching March the 3rd in the City of Guelph in partnership with the City of Guelph and Circular Innovation Council, which will allow us to scale the system out from a hub and spoke methodology that we've inserted within that we've implemented within the system that allow us to scale this program completely across the City of Guelph. Next slide, please. Our technology is backed by experts in logistics and tech, being led by the former Vice President of Operations for FedEx Canada. Next slide, please. And thank you to Alterna Savings, not only for this opportunity today, but they have funded our program. Well, they have funded our business, I should say, with 55K so far to date. This was over, I believe the first loan was in 2015 or 2016. I can't recall the exact date, up to just last year. So these guys have been an amazing partner for us. They funded us multiple times. I think I am on my fourth installment, my fourth loan with them at this point. And it's really been a great partnership. They've been able to cover, as I mentioned, that capital asset you saw, the electric cargo bike, which has really helped us to scale our impact and do the great work that we do. Next slide, please. Actually, I think that might be the last slide. Sorry about that.
All right. Thank you so much, Tony. Tony, what I love is how you're always giving back. You saw an opportunity to help others and turn it into a successful business. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and your story.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ryan Knight, one of the founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. He's also an entrepreneur, founder of Detailing Nights, active member of the Peel Learning Foundation, and member of the Mississauga Board of Trade. Ryan from ACBN, or Ryan has built ACBN and its services with a deep understanding of the unique challenges Black entrepreneurs face, offering culturally relevant resources and community-based approaches that address the social and economic realities of their journeys. Ryan, can you tell us more about how ACBN began, what inspired the incorporation of a financing option, and why wraparound supports are so vital to the success of the entrepreneurs and the work you do with them? Over to you, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Jean, for the intro. Always love hearing Tony's story. And for myself, thank you to Alterna for supporting my business, Detailing Nights. Multiple iterations of funding has helped us, go through each milestone. But then we did realize there are a lot of entrepreneurs that need support. And 7 years ago, we're actually celebrating over 7 years in existence. The Afro-Caribbean Business Network was born. And you can go to the next slide. So for myself, being able to create an entity that would sit down with entrepreneurs and figure out what stage the business is in, because with Detailing Nights, we were ready to expand and franchise across Canada and into the US, but there weren't any Black-focused business organizations that we could go to that had the mandate to scale up companies or to get them direct funding. So being able to now support entrepreneurs with direct funding through our microloan program that we started with Alterna, and also support them with their marketing and sales thanks to our social enterprise. This is why ACBN exists. And you can go to the next slide. And of course, not doing it alone, being partnered with Alterna and other organizations across Canada, whether it's Calabash, cooperative of expert service providers, and also Sheridan and Edge. So being able to support entrepreneurs by connecting them to the resources that are at colleges. Now that there's an ecosystem, a Black entrepreneurship ecosystem, it's become, I won't say easier, but wherever, what stage your business is in, we're able to point you in the right direction. And these are directions that did not exist 7 years ago. Next slide. And of course, we do exist to see not just the community win, but helping entrepreneurs grow their enterprise. We can go to the next slide. And the pillars that we definitely stand on, of course, entrepreneurship, I would say, is that foundation that we build upon. Entrepreneurship is a tool that we feel you could use that is best used to pull a person out of poverty and to help them build economic empowerment. Because we talk a lot about economic exclusion, but realizing entrepreneurship has the lowest barrier to entry and unlimited potential. So we feel it's a great tool to use to support our community in building economic empowerment. But a lot of that does come down to that access to funding. And that's why it was important for us to start this loan program with Alterna, because we see that there's different tiers of stages in business. And a lot of times when we need 50,000, 250,000, we haven't built the right foundations to get to that amount of money. So ACBN building, I would say that tier one, or I call it the farm team to get to the big leagues. If you follow baseball, I love baseball. So you know how they have the farm team, single A, double A, triple A before you get to the big leagues. We felt that that was missing. So now we're able to work with Alterna to build out the roadmap to getting you the funding that you need. Next slide. And over the past 7 years, we've been able to engage with over 5,000, actually it's over 6,000 Black entrepreneurs now. And through the research that we've done, and I'm going to share a bit of our findings, we're able to find out that there's over 130,000 Black entrepreneurs across Canada, yet only about 27,000 of them are actually registered. So when resources, supports, funding from the government or the federal government comes out and business owners are not registered, they immediately are disqualified from getting access to those funds. So we had to put together more programming to make sure that when a person does start a business, they actually have the right structure so that they can get access to funding as well. Next slide. And I did mention briefly about the growing Black entrepreneurship ecosystem. Now we've been able to partner with over 40 Black focused business organizations across Canada. So all of those entrepreneurs that exist, I would say unregistered or exist registered, they have a place to go when they want to grow their business and being able to support them. Next slide. So the research study that we were able to do, thanks to the research firm Dunn, Pierre, and Barnett, we were able to survey just under 1,600 Black entrepreneurs, which was one of the first Black labor market assessments done in Canada. We did focus on Southern Ontario, and the interviews helped us get an insight into what Black entrepreneurs are really going through. And thanks to FACE, which is the Federation of African Canadian Economics, the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, who helped out with this study as well. Next slide. So the main findings from the slide, oh, actually, you can go back. So the main findings that we saw were 4 strikes that entrepreneurs are going through. And really, the first one is because they're less than 5 employees. And we're finding that the most difficult time for entrepreneurs is during the first 5 years, or the first hiring of your 5 employees. So before you get to 5 employees is the toughest time in your business. And in our network, 86% of business owners had between 1 to 4 employees. So we're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs are really micro businesses and not really small businesses just yet, even though the spectrum of small business is between 1 to 49 employees. Really, we needed to focus on getting entrepreneurs to that 5 employee mark. Beyond that, they're struggling to find talent. So entrepreneurs, when they're going out and actually trying to hire, in our focus groups, we found 50% of people didn't want to work for Black firms, even if they were from the Black community, or even if they were from outside the Black community, they still didn't want to work for Black firms. And really because the stereotype that they felt was, A, they might not get paid on time, they probably won't get benefits, like employee benefits. And that's typically because some of the entrepreneurs might not be registered, they won't have their own payroll. So these are things that feel like a stereotype, but we're actually seeing it that entrepreneurs aren't set up to support their employees the best way. So they're not desirable to want to work for. Also, they are concentrated in specific professional services, specific industries. So if you go to the next slide, it does talk about the economics of Canada has about 52 industries, yet Black businesses are only in about 26. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see we're concentrated. So the big line is professional services. So being in professional services causes a few struggles when you're trying to get funding. So one is the high risk for lenders because the talent is concentrated on one person. Also, they're typically in low tech industries. So venture capital angel investors aren't excited to invest in those types of industries like professional services. And then also they have low collateral to loan against. So the banks want to see equipment, they want to see leasehold improvements, but in professional services, we're typically not, you don't have that collateral, so the risk goes up. And our credit scores are historically lower. So all of these compile to having issues getting funding. So this is why tier one farm team micro loans, microfinance is so important, because we have to work with an entrepreneur to initially get them funding, structure how their data rooms look, how their our finances are done, so that we can prepare them so that they look less risky to the next batch of funding. But again, I wanted to thank you for the time. I think that is the next slide. What's the next slide? Oh, right. I spoke to this. So the employees. So yeah, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you so much, Ryan. I love the idea about building those fundamentals. So thank you for your thoughtful explanation of why wraparound and that building that foundation is really important to support entrepreneurs. It's essential for the entrepreneur's success. Your insights clearly highlight the importance of fostering growth and resilience within the entrepreneurial arena. Now it's a perfect time for us to speak to Chris Beth Cowie, founder of Empowered 4X. Chris Beth um, knows entrepreneurs need more than financing to build successful businesses, and Empowered 4X goes beyond, offering training programs that focus on essential areas like business planning, marketing, financial management, and customer relations. Chris Beth, can you share more about how your organization began and how these programs are helping entrepreneurs maximize their potential and achieve their lasting success? Chris, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you so much, Jean. And I want to say thank you to Alterna and yourself for having me here today. I am a proud Alterna client as well. And really, my journey began with seeing value in myself and realizing that I have talents and skills that I would love to share with others. I began talking and sharing information about in schools, classrooms, boardrooms, and really a chance to give back to community. As I started my speaking career, a lot of people started coming to me saying, "Hey, how did you start?" And realizing that I had plugged into a business development training program, I was then subsequently able to help others start and grow and flourish. And for the past 10 years, I've just been doing that in incubators and with Empowered for X specifically. And like Ryan said, one of the things that we did find in particular around the pandemic was entrepreneurs were not ready. And today I want to really lean into getting ready. And that's really where Empowered Facts exists. We help people go from ideation to commercialization. We do run a training and consulting firm whereby entrepreneurs come in with different challenges and we're able to connect them to the specific resource that's needed to help them grow. So you can go to the next slide, please. And so today I just wanted to touch on a couple of things for the agenda. So talking about the 5 Ds of leadership, looking at validating your business idea, the importance of creating a business plan, registering your business. I cannot say that enough. I think Ryan said that in his last message. We need to get registered, and a little marketing insights, and I'll talk about business optimization and processes as well. So you can go to the next one. The 5 Ds of leadership are what I guess a philosophy methodology I've developed really over the years, working with entrepreneurs, myself included, investing in an understanding of what it takes to build a successful business. And really these simple yet powerful elements are things that I recommend to entrepreneurs. So we have to decide on the direction that we want. We engage with a lot of entrepreneurs that don't have clarity, or they're trying to boil the ocean. I like to say they're trying to do everything. What is necessary is a level of focus. So decide on the direction, get really clear on your mission and your vision, understanding that there are key things that the entrepreneur must do, right? When we first start out as solopreneurs, when we look at an org chart, our names are on everything, and that actually becomes very overwhelming. And with time, we learn to navigate and delegate and move things forward. But there are things that I say we must do, and those are really being customer centric in terms of being able to go out and talk about your business, being able to put a clear offer in front of people and make a sale. Oftentimes people come saying, hey, we need funding, we need capital, but the question is, what are you doing to create traction for your own business? And in the early stages, at the later stages, you have to be the one at the helm driving that. And you could also hire for that, right? But that comes with time as well. But when your team and your company grows, understanding that it is so important that we must delegate, right? So finding the right people to support you. And we're living in a world where AI is not going away. It is not a fad. It is here to stay. And it is so important that we figure out how to leverage technology and tools and systems to help alleviate some of those responsibilities as we're growing. Ultimately, we know that entrepreneurship is not linear. We must figure out that drive and commitment until we achieve our goals, and realize that there's lots of distractions. So get rid of all of these distractions by dumping them. Being organized with our time and being able to be proactive in this way helps us win ultimately. So those are the 5 Ds of leadership. You can go to the next slide. The piece around validation that I wanted to share with you all, validating your business idea, there are 4 key things that are required, right? Is your business desirable, right? People say, I have a great idea, or I'm working on this new thing. Is there a market for it, right? You have to be able to answer that question. Your bright idea, I'm not saying, people ask me, is my idea good? I said, it sounds good, but it's not for me. Does the market say it's good? Is the timing right? And we'll talk a little bit about that. But once we know that it's desirable, there's a need in the market, we have to ask ourselves, is it feasible for you to do? I think in Tony's story he shared, he needed capital, additional capital to get the business moving forward. There were things that he can do with whatever he had in his possession, but it is so important when you're thinking about delivering value in your business. Do you have the full capabilities to make sure that customer experience is going to be achieved? And if not, asking who has it and going out and find that, right? It doesn't all have to be just you. Is it viable? And this is where we look at the cost, we look at the revenue that's coming in. Is this business going to be profitable? At what point do you get paid, right? I think oftentimes we run businesses, and when we look at the balance sheet, we look at the expense statement, we don't even have a line item paying ourselves $1, right? So we want to be structuring in our businesses in a way that, yes, we know a lot of it goes back into the business early stages. I live it, I know it, I understand it, but it is so important that when we set out to do business, we truly count the cost it's going to take to get that business in a profitable state. And then the last question that I like to talk about when we talk about, is your business, to validate it, is it adaptable? Is the timing right? If you came to me and you said you're going to start a newspaper business, I would say, what does the market say? Because the newspaper, in the traditional sense, business is actually declining, right? And so you want to make sure that you're in the right timing to do what is next for your business. So you can go to the next slide. A tool that I love to recommend to entrepreneurs is the business model canvas. Whether you've been running for just starting out or running for 5, 10, 15 years, is it possible for you to just map out your business model on a piece of paper, simplified, and go and execute it? And the answer is yes, right? And this tool is very utilized. Does it make sense? And yes, it does expand beyond a one pager, but the point of using a tool like this, it helps you to simplify, get the clarity that you need in order to go out and validate, hey, my customer is true. The channels that we've selected, that we are engaging with them, they're the right channels. Our process for keeping and engaging customers are correct. We understand their pain points, we understand the problem, and we have a viable solution that they are willing, ready, and able to pay today for it, right? Sometimes the sales cycle is longer, but just understanding that you have to nurture those customers, right? I heard a stat recently, only 2% of people are ready to buy today. So what about the rest of people, right? We need to have a system by which we can communicate effectively to them. And that's one of the things that I'll talk about later on. You can go to the next slide. So a recommendation that a tool that I would love to invite people to explore, you could look at it. This is just an example one, is the customer journey, right? Where are people initially hearing about you? Remember, sometimes you're like, I need to make the sale today. But the truth is, we need to create brand awareness. We have to get known. You can't be the best kept secret, right? Oftentimes people are like hiding. I don't want to talk about my business idea. We're in business. The world needs to know, right? So the 5 stages of the customer journey is awareness, consideration, decision, service, and loyalty. And it is so important when you understand that, being able to communicate with folks accordingly. You can go to the next slide. Some of the things, again, my slide here is we just need to register, come correct is the words that I'm thinking about. Your name, your branding, deciding on the type of business that you want, and connecting with a lawyer or accountant to get registered. Or you can go on to the Canadian government and get registered, right? So this is just a slide to help you. I tell people, when you decide on a name, check out these different spaces to see if your name is taken, because you don't want to be empowered for X one place and then on another site you're showing up as empowered for X dot 123 because you couldn't get the URLs in alignment, right? When we talk about branding, we want to be consistent. So it's very important, the naming and positioning of your business going forward. Next slide. And yes, so my last thing here for you in terms of just the organization and operations of your business, you have to realize that it is so important to track key things in your business, from the marketing elements, looking at your social and impact and environmental impact, if that's important to your business. And I would just plug, in this economy, funders and governments want to see businesses that are contributing positively, economically, socially, and environmentally, right? So I'm not inviting people to greenwash. I'm just asking people to find what is important that could be added to your business to increase its value proposition. You want to be able to look at your product usage and purchases so that you know the buying habits of your clientele. What is the cost of acquisition? What is the lifetime value of a customer? How much revenue are you using or generating? And then looking at your productivity all around. So there are tools, there are systems that are useful that you can utilize to help you move your business forward. I'm happy to share that information as well. And I believe that was my last slide.
All right, great, excellent. I think
Thank you, Jean.
Chris Beth, business readiness, education, training are so important. Tools and equipment for business to succeed. Thank you for sharing how they can help entrepreneurs. I hope some of our audience members may not know about Empowered X, but you're here to help them and support them as they go along. So thanks, Chris Beth, for sharing. I'd like to build on what you've seen so far, and I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Otis Mashonga, Director of Programs and Partnership at Access Community Capital Fund, which supports aspiring entrepreneurs who face barriers to entrepreneurship through business training, mentorship, and facilitating access to financing. Otis, systemic barriers like low credit scores, lack of collateral, often limit Black entrepreneurs by having access to traditional financing. Access has stepped in to bridge this gap by offering small loans that require less documentation and no collateral, empowering entrepreneurs to start or grow their business. Otis, can you share more about how Access works, the impact it's having, and why it's so important to address these challenges? Otis, over to you.
Thank you, Jean. Hello, everyone. It's good to have this opportunity to share about Access Community Capital Fund and in the work that we do to help underserved entrepreneurs launch successfully. If you can go to the next slide, please. So Access has been around for a long time, so 25 years and counting. Since 99, Access has been formally registered as a charitable organization based in Toronto and serving Ontario. And in partnership with Alterna, we were offering loans up to 5,000, between 5,000 and 10,000 to help underserved entrepreneurs launch successfully their businesses. As we know that access to capital is one of the key drivers of successfully launching a business, but it's not the only component. But however, we were in a position where we were filling a gap, as you know, that most entrepreneurs face the challenge of accessing capital due to various factors. If you're new to Canada, you don't have credit history here, so your status also comes into play. Whether you've got not so great credit or non-existent credit history, all of those factors, whether your business is still at a very early stages and you have no traction or in terms of just revenue traction, then all of these are barriers. So at Access, we've been able to navigate that by trying to remove as many barriers to accessing capital as much as possible, but also trying to make sure that the entrepreneurs are ready to access the capital. It's not only the capital that counts, but also being ready for it. And overall, and I think Chris, Beth, and Ryan talked to the supports around making sure that the entrepreneur is ready and able to move to that next stage in terms of accessing capital. I'm happy to say that through our microfinancing program, I can see the success that our partnership with Alterna has, produced entrepreneurs who have gone on to make a difference in the community. Ryan Knight has passed through the Access Community Capital Fund microloan program as he started his detailing nights. Tony Coley as well. Happy to see you as well, and great to hear the story and the difference that you're making. So our partnership with Alterna has had longstanding impact in the community in as far as Black entrepreneurs, but also those who have limited access to capital. Next slide, please. And so currently our programs are focused on making sure that we get entrepreneurs ready while our small business micro lending program is on pause right now. We are focusing on providing the wraparound supports through our accelerator programs that help to build the skills and the confidence that is needed for entrepreneurs to thrive. It's not yes, we see a lot of them just coming in and say, I need capital, but I don't have a business plan. Then we are back to square one. So in trying to make sure that we help as many as possible, and most of whom are from our community, the Black community, we have our programs that are tailored to provide workshops that are tailored around business planning, coaching sessions. In some prefer mentorship, but we prefer the term coaching because we want them to feel that they have ownership and then can take the knowledge that they get and run with it and refine their business plan. On that screen, actually, you'll see one of our clients. Her name is Yashelle Jackson. She now owns her own security firm. She came to Access really facing insurmountable barriers in trying to get access to capital. Working in a male-dominated environment. The security business. Having qualified, got a police foundations, and now working for someone else, she persevered and thought she could make it in this business. But all she needed was encouragement. All she needed was that 5,000 just to get her uniforms, just to get some of her initial startup costs in place. And now she has a thriving business that is making a name for itself in, I think, in the security business. So through the work that we've been able to do with the partners in the community, we are seeing a lot of impact that's happening through these wraparound supports and through the micro lending, the microfinance programs that are in place. Next slide, please. So through our programs, just to give you a snapshot of how our programs are shaping up, and since 2020, when the pandemic hit, we moved all of our training programs online, and so we offer free training through our small business accelerator programs, which cater to anyone who's interested in starting a business, refining their business plan. They can sign up. It's a 6-week program, workshop series, and coaching that they can go through and really get some coaching and get some more knowledge and skills to get to the stage where they are able to confidently say that they're able to launch their business and go out and seek capital in trying to get their businesses off the ground. Next slide, please. So our Women's Business Accelerator focuses on women entrepreneurs who are looking to launch and grow their businesses as well. So we've seen a lot of aspiring women entrepreneurs come through these programs, most of whom are new to Canada and either looking to restart a business or relaunch something that they've already been doing outside of Canada. So we've seen a lot of that going on. So through our programs, they've been able to get the knowledge about how to launch successfully in the Canadian market, and also to get the confidence and the guidance they need to move. As you know, that when you come to a new country, there's a lot of challenges you face. Settlement, you want to find a job, to get food on the table, to sustain your families right from out of the gate. So the bills don't wait until you are properly settled for them to start, getting fixed. So it's go time. It's always go go go. So we are happy to be in a position to have supported many realize their dreams and continue to build on the confidence and get the motivation they need to get their businesses off the ground. Next slide, please. So we have seen a lot of impact, and our program participants have responded and give us feedback that above all, the confidence that they get through the programs that we offer cannot be overstated. It's about building that community. It's about coming together as a network and realize that you're not the only one facing that challenge. There are many others, and when you come together as a community, you actually build on the strength of one another, and you move forward in the same direction with the conviction and the motivation. As an old African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So building that community is very important, and I think we've managed to bring it full circle at Access. Next slide, please. And so we are, grateful for our partnerships with Alterna and many other funders and partners that we work together. So in making sure that every entrepreneur that is aspiring to start their businesses does so with as limited barriers as possible. And hopefully we can continue to remove as many barriers, even with mainstream lenders and many other organizations. I think that will bring us to the last slide.
All
And
right.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Otis, and thank you for speaking on behalf of your organization, Access. And thank you for all the great work that you're doing in helping aspiring entrepreneurs reach their potentials and achieve their dreams. Thank you so much. Last but not least, today we'd like to speak with one of our entrepreneurs, Emifa Kadre. Um, she is the founder and fashion engineer at her company called Israela Kobla. Hopefully, I pronounced that correctly. Emifa is an engineer who's transitioned to fashion design. Her design have been picked up by the Bay and now is in Nordstrom in the US. It's amazing achievement. We'd love to hear about the vision that sparked your business journey and the key moments that have shaped your success story so far. So, Emifa, I welcome you today and let's get started.
Yeah, thank you. So the vision that sparked everything, so we officially launched in 2019, but the journey of fashion and all of that started in 2012 when my brother passed away. I was in my third semester at university, and when he passed away, I took a semester off just to kind of grieve and process everything. And during that time, my family and I went back to Ghana, where we're originally from. And I was just going to one of my auntie's house every day, learning how to sew. And I was picking things up quite quickly. Both of my mom and my aunt were really surprised at how quickly I was picking things up. So then fast forward, I went back to school, I graduated, I moved to Calgary and was working. 1 year into my job, so fashion was kind of on the back burner. I wasn't really thinking about it. I always saw it as more of a hobby than something I wanted to do. I wanted to go on and do architecture and go down the more structural design side of things. And then the job, when you graduate from school, you just want to take any job that's giving you something. I was an international student as well at that time. And so I was working, and then I realized I was counting down to the weekend, counting down to the end of the day. And it was the specific role that I had in the company I was at, not necessarily the field. But for me, I kind of took it as a sign to go and chase something more fulfilling. At least whilst I was young and had minimal responsibilities, I thought at the end of the day, I have a great career to fall back on, or degree, I should say, to fall back on. So 2017, I left my job and I moved to Toronto and went back to school. I went to George Brown. And again, I'm a very type A person. I want to know all of the things and kind of move from there. So although I knew how to sew, I wanted to make sure there was no gaps. And when I was in school, and going as a mature student, I think you approach it very differently than when you go right at 18. And so, I maximized my time with the teachers. I maximized the resources available in school. And then after I graduated, I got a job at YM Inc. And I was there for about a month when I got an opportunity to join BizStart, which is like sponsored by Youth Employment Services. And they essentially give you the money to kind of get your business off the ground, essentially, or to pay yourself, just so you can actually commit to the program, develop your business plan, and all of that. So I joined a month late, so it was 5 months remaining. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to start taking Israela Kabla really seriously. And it just kind of grew from there. And I think a big thing for me has been networking and just seizing opportunities as well. So even if I would join a panel to watch it, not participate in it, I'd reach out to the people that were speaking afterwards, the ones that I could really connect with, or I saw that there's maybe some knowledge that they have that I wanted to gain, and kind of develop a relationship with people organically like that. I have a lot of mentors, but I've never asked anyone to be my mentor. We've kind of just fallen into that dynamic by way of connecting and reaching out and asking. And I think that has been a big thing in shaping how the business has grown and the opportunities that have come my way. And I think kind of going back, I think you asked about the key moments as well in the business, right? And
Right.
Yeah, so I'd say the big first one was Hudson's Bay, and that's when I did get reach out to Alterna and get the funding to get us ready to enter their stores. And with Hudson's Bay, we started online, and again, just kind of being assertive and just going with a say yes and figure it out mentality, but and also the worst anyone will say is no mentality as well. We were only online with their marketplace at first, and we were doing really good sales. So then I asked them about any opportunities to get into store. And, we, and still mainly are made on demand. Even with our retail partners, we make what they order. We don't make and hope to sell. And so I reached out to them to see if there was any opportunities. They said they don't typically deal with apparel on a consignment basis, but they wanted to give it a try. And that's when I reached out to Alterna to be able to fund. I'm very particular about how we brand and how we present the brand. So I used it to get the fixtures and get kind of everything ready to launch with Hudson's Bay. And then all of these things kind of snowball. So because of how we display things, I get great imagery of how we would present, how we presented our clothes in store, which then I showed when I was presenting at New York Fashion Week in 2023 to appeal to retailers like a Nordstrom that they know, okay, you may be a young brand, we may never have heard of you, but we see the quality of what you produce and what you put out there. So I think it's a really great thing where going way, way, way back, those kind of people who are willing to take the chance and also see the potential in what you're doing as well. And I think a big thing for me is not to count yourself out. You really should just put yourself out there and try and let somebody tell you no and don't tell yourself no. Give people the opportunity to tell you no, because you never know what that yes could be and where that would take you. And so, yeah, so that's been really, really great. Kind of growing with Nordstrom. We're in 8 stores there and hopefully expanding into more.
Excellent. I really love your story and the journey of how your business started to where it's at right now. It's very appealing, and I hope all our guests are able to take some information from that. You've built an impressive momentum in your business. Could you share your approach to funding and investment strategies and how you see these opportunities evolving for the next generation of entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I would say in the very beginning, I was doing a lot of pitch competitions and applying for a lot of grants and things like that, because there's a lot that you need to do kind of on the ground level where, going into the loan phase, you want to make sure that what you say you're going to spend that on, you're going to, and you're going to make sure that it's going to generate the income or the revenue, sorry, that you kind of project it to. So I think that was a big thing for me until, say, for example, when that Hudson's Bay opportunity came, I'm like, okay, I know how much we need and I know what that will do and how that will benefit the business. So I'd say when kind of approaching this microfinancing and all of that, make sure that you've really thought out what you need and how you're going to generate the revenue to also make sure that you can pay that back. And I think I just had a thought and it just escaped me.
Okay, so maybe
I
I'll
hate when that happens.
jump in with my next and final
Yeah, go
question.
ahead.
So your experience has been very invaluable, and I'm quite sure to other business leaders. What are the most powerful strategies and resources you've discovered that have helped you to thrive as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so BizStop for sure. I would say that was like no over exaggeration. That was life changing. I think that took me from seeing myself as a fashion designer to seeing myself as an entrepreneur. I was very like, oh, I'm not an entrepreneur. Nope, nope, nope. In the beginning, but going through that program, it's you see things from a different perspective versus just being a creative. There's also something called business in the streets as well. I think when you get into these kind of entrepreneurial hubs, let's call them. And the fashion zone also, I should mention, has been really key. It's like a network that just keeps on growing. It's like the gift that keeps on giving, And it feels very underground until you're in there. But if you could like, and it's not kind of exclusive, but it's just knowing that these things exist. So I always shout all of the programs out that I've been a participant in because they've really helped me, one, like I said, see myself as an entrepreneur, but also connect to all of these programs that are available because there is so much out there, but it's just knowing that these things exist. And also, like I said before, not counting yourself out of these opportunities and just putting yourself forward as well. And then on a kind of larger scale, even within the government now, they've been doing a lot to push the creative industries as well. So there's a lot of financing available through Canadian Heritage when you want to get into exporting your products out there as well. And not just products, it could be if you produce kind of events and things like that as well, anything under the creative realm. That has been really, really helpful. Yeah, those are the ones off my top of my mind, but there's more, but I can definitely send those over later.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for sharing all your insights, experiences, and strategies of, how you started your business and where you are now and the scale up and growth of your business. So I want to thank you, Emma Fa, for talking about and sharing your journey with us.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up, I think we want to give our entrepreneurs and our panelists an opportunity if there's any questions in our chat room. We do have a couple more minutes left. If there's any questions, we want to put them forward. If we have enough time, we can answer a couple and then we could wrap up. So is there any questions?
Yes, there's a question in the chat, and it's for Emafa. And it's really around, how you came up with your business name. I think you've answered that in the chat.
Yeah, I just answered it. Israela is my middle name and Kabla was my brother's middle name. Kabla is a boy born on a Tuesday in the Ewe tribe in Ghana. And Israel is my dad's name. So
Awesome, beautiful. Any other questions?
I do have a few questions. I'm Susan Henry, by the way, Director of Community Impact and Financial Inclusion, and I work alongside Jean Barrett in our Community Microfinance program. And I've got a question both for Tony and Emafa. And this is really based on Ryan and how do we scale up our businesses. So my question for you both are, what are the next steps in scaling your business? And what type of financing do you think is necessary to get you to that over the bump?
I can take this one initially and share that for us, our next step is moving into Guelph. So that opportunity is starting on March the 3rd. We are in partnership with the City of Guelph. They have been working on a Guelph Wellington food waste reduction pilot for the past 3 years now. And we have been enlisted to facilitate phase 3, which is the redirection piece. When it comes to avoidable food waste. And avoidable food waste is anything that's edible. So anything that comes from a grocery store that would normally be discarded simply because it's past its expiry date, but it is still valid. It's still edible and able to be consumed by a customer, but they cannot sell it on the market any longer. We capture 100% of that avoidable food waste. So our next step is moving into Guelph and taking advantage of that opportunity. When it comes to funding, I'm not sure if we're going to need funding to do that simply because of the way the pilot is being rolled out. The city is providing the majority of the funding required in order to deliver that program in Guelph. So hopefully with the funding that's been provided thus far by Alterna, I think we should be in a good position to launch this pilot in Guelph without requiring additional funding. But who knows what the future entails? We may be coming back and knocking on Alterna's door in the near future in order to scale even further beyond Guelph. But for now, I think we're set.
Great. We welcome you back if you need financing. Emma, same question.
Yeah, so for me right now, there's two things. Kind of observing how things went with Nordstrom in the US, and kind of taking that approach to expand into the UK and also France as well, and eventually into Asia too, because I think our products would do really well there. So the main thing is kind of securing at least one large retailer in each of those regions. And a big thing I'm experiencing at the moment, so we are a full-time team of 3, and then I work with 2 contractors, but there's still, with even the 2 other full-time team members, a lot of things still fall on my shoulders, and a lot of the times I can be the bottleneck, especially when it comes to kind of the design and production side of things. And so one of the things probably for funding would be to hire people, but at a high level. I don't really have the time or the capacity to bring people in at an entry level and train them. So knowing that I need to go for like a head of production or a head of marketing, roles like that, they're not going to come cheap. So that's probably the focus point over the next year.
Thank you. We're really at time, but I see there's one last question in the chat. It's around what advice can the panelists give to an aspiring entrepreneur in the cleaning business? Ryan, in 10 seconds, can you answer that question?
Yeah, for sure. Reach out. I'll put my email in the chat because depending on the type of cleaning business, there's various ways you can go. So happy to help you with that.
Awesome.
Hey,
Jean, I'll turn it back over to you.
thank you, Susan. I want to take a minute to thank BDC for helping us with today's webinar. They have been a great partner to Alterna, helping us to support more entrepreneurs by providing matching funds through our joint co-lending program. As you can see on our screen, some information about the joint co-lending program. There are 3 criteria: Black entrepreneur, social entrepreneur, and finally the woman entrepreneur. And the entrepreneur has the opportunity to be approved through Alterna Savings Microfinance Program up to $25,000, and also get a matching BDC loan up to $25,000, total $50,000 in financing for their business. For more information, you could reach out to Microfinance at alterna.ca, and we will be gladly able to assist you then. Second, I would like to thank all our panelists for sharing their valuable insights, experiences, and expertise. Today's insights have highlighted not only the challenges faced by Black entrepreneurs, but also the incredible resilience, innovation, support within the community. I wish we had more time because I think there's so much for us to cover. As we reflect on what's learned, let's commit to taking actionable steps to break down systemic barriers and create opportunities for success. And a special thank you to our entrepreneurs, Emafa and Tony, for sharing their stories with us today. To our audience, thank you for taking some time out of your day to be with us for this important conversation. We hope you leave inspired and motivated to support Black entrepreneurs in a meaningful way. Together, we can continue to build an equitable and inclusive future. For anyone who would like to know more about the programs offered by our speakers or learn more about the Alterna Microfinance Program, please reach out to me at jean.barrett@alterna.ca. My contact information is on the screen. You could take a shot of the QR code. Very easy to get a hold of us. And I want to thank you so much for your time today. And thanks everyone for being here and sharing all the amazing information. Thank you. Take care. Stay warm. Have a good evening.